is the Hollywood Chronicles with Frank MacKay. Tune in each week for exclusive interviews with your favorite celebrities.
Frank MacKay here with royalty, pop culture royalty. No way to even understate that or overstate that. Kevin Smith is our very special guest, of course, screenwriter, actor, film producer, director, and comic book creator. And tomorrow, you can see him tomorrow live at SmodCastle Cinemas in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey, doing Q&A. And if you haven't caught Hollywood Babble On, you're making a big mistake. You're missing out. And you can see them live tomorrow with Ralph Garman, his partner in this. And look, let's face it, since '94, you could really make a case that the world of cinema, the world of independent film and pop culture could be marked with before Clerks and after Clerks. And here's the guy who created that and so much more. Kevin Smith, how are you?
Good morning, man. You're talking about BC before Clerks and AD after Dante.
Right.
That's how I look at my life. It's been ripped into two different eras right there. How you been?
I'm doing great. And listen, I don't think we're overstating. And I've had this conversation a couple of weeks ago about before Clerks and after Clerks. And in a sense, Clerks was blessed by timing. It created so much and it changed how filmmakers approached. But 2 years later, 96, I think I got my first email address. So the internet popped like right after you popped and right after Clerks popped. And the world was just off in a whole different direction at that point.
Oh, absolutely. Luck and timing is the only reason I have a career, man. If I had said what I said with Clerks like a year earlier or a year later, I don't think anyone ever would have noticed the movie, probably wouldn't have been found. And then the internet, when that happened, it was going on in the early 90s on college campuses, but when it was open to everyone else, I fell in love with it because of the notion that you could get in touch with people that paid to watch your movie. That was something that didn't exist prior to that. And the only way you knew how you were ever doing is if you were, looked at box office results or film critics' reviews. But the idea that you could talk to somebody who picked your flick on a Friday night and spent $5 to $8 to watch it, that was thrilling to me. So I've been online since late 95, talking to the audience, fostering the audience. But luck and timing in the internet really are the reasons I'm still here.
Yeah, well, just amazing. You're being very humble there. I think even if it hit a year earlier, it would have had a great impact as well. But let me just say this: it's hard for me to find a historic comp to Clerks, and I guess you got to cross genres. I know, like if you go into like what the Night of the Living Dead did, or what Easy Rider did. I don't know, what was the best comp as far as impact that you've heard over the years? Have you heard one that you said, yeah, I think there you go?
You put me in estimable company right there, man, with Night of the Living Dead and Easy Rider. I saw a movie called Slacker, directed by Richard Linklater, up at the Angelica Film Center in Manhattan. And that made me go like, oh my God, if this counts as a movie, maybe I could make a movie too. So that was the movie that made me kind of do what I wound up doing. But I was a Cinderella Story that came out of Sundance in 94. Like this January, it'll be 30 years since Clerks happened.
Wow.
But and we've just passed in March. It was 30 years since we started shooting the movie. So, at that point, I think Clerks was kind of one of those flicks that made people go like, oh, you could make one of these inexpensive movies and it could wind up finding an audience. The Cinderella Story, as they call it. And that's what happened to me. There weren't too many flicks ahead of me that you could easily point to and be like, that's what happened. Slacker is the one that I always kind of point to.
God, Richard's got to be thrilled that you point to that. And by the way, I love Slacker. Don't get me wrong, but it was yeah. I mean, boy, I get it. I get where you saw that. I just have never heard you say that, and shame on me. I'm sure you've said it a million times, but yeah, it makes an awful lot of sense. But if I'm Richard, I'm honored by that. Has he commented on you commenting on that?
Oh yeah, for years. I've been talking about Slacker for the better part of 30 years. I always kind of give him credit for going first. And for years, I had to explain who Richard Linklater was to people. Like, he made Dazed and Confused. But then after Boyhood, it was a lot easier. People were like, "Oh, Richard Linklater." I was like, "Yes, the man I've been talking about for decades."
Wow. When you're watching that, when you're seeing Slacker and saying, "You know what? I can do this." What's the expectation? Is the expectation to get to the size of Dazed and Confused or Slacker, or is it to get there, or is it to just make the movie and see what happens? What was your expectation, and how did it compare to how it turned out?
Honestly, the expectation was, let me just show people I can make a movie. And I thought I'd have to four-wall it, where you rent movie theaters and bring it in yourself, or try to raise awareness for it. So my expectation was low in terms of, will anybody see this movie? I thought I'd have to kind of go out there and tub thump for it. So what happened with it was far beyond expectation. It was shocking that one of the laziest people I ever knew, which was me, made a movie at all. And then even more shocking that people heard about it, saw it, that I got picked up by Miramax, that it became this movie that at one point, we got an NC-17 for it, and there was what do they call those things, where a bunch of people, a petition was signed by a bunch of legit directors like Martin Scorsese to reduce its rating, because it got an NC-17 for language, not even for nudity or sex or something. So watching the movie grow beyond what I was aiming for when we got started was a mind bender, and still is to this day. It's something I never take for granted. I never think well, of course this is going to happen. That, like I said before, if we did it a year before, a year after, I doubt it ever would have happened. So all of it shocked me, and still shocks me to this day. The fact that we're still talking about Clerks 30 years later is still a shock to me, and a happy shock. I'm not one of those people that's like, yeah, what about my new stuff? It's like, Clerks is my magic trick. It's the thing that, it's like pulling a quarter from behind somebody's ear. Still impressive,
Hey, listen, your new stuff is absolutely great, but I mean, just to put in proper perspective, historically, you can only do it once. It's like Isaac Newton
True.
can only invent.
So true.
Right, yeah, you can only do something like that once. And it's amazing. Your spot in pop culture history is just undeniable. Thrilled to talk to you. This is the first time I'm getting the opportunity. We'll be checking you out tomorrow. Tell us anything else we should know before we let you go. We want everybody to go tomorrow, SmodCastle Cinemas, and check you guys out. It's always great, and you always film it, right? So if you get a question in there, somebody gets a question in there, they're going to be part of this. Tell us anything else we should know, and please leave us with a website or a social media site.
I bought my hometown movie theater back in October with some friends of mine. So we've been, creating programs left and right. We showed a thing called Clerks Open All Night, where we showed all three Clerks movies, Clerks 2, and Clerks 3. From midnight till 6 a.m. Jason Lee has come, and we've shown Mallrats and Chasing Amy, and so we also do the live podcast there. I do shows called Hollywood Babylon and Fat Man Beyond, and this is the second time we're doing Hollywood Babylon there, which is like a 13-year-old podcast that I've been doing with my friend Ralph Garman. Normally we do it in Los Angeles, so it's nice to be able to bring it to the East Coast. And we roll film, video and everything, so people can, even if they're not there, they can catch up with it later on. But it's a cool little movie theater on the Jersey Shore, right where I grew up, and it's a multiplex, man. It's got 5 screens, and one of the screens we take over and do our show at. Hollywood Babylon is fun, a really funny show. It's like a cabaret show. So it's always a good time. Get tickets at SmodCastleCinemas.com.
Listen, we'll be talking about it as we let you go. We'll see you all. We'll all see you tomorrow. And congrats on everything, not just Clerks, but what a career you put together. Just still going strong. Thanks for being here.
Oh my God, such a pleasure, man. Thanks for the chit chat. A nice way to wake up.
Kevin Smith, everyone, the great Kevin Smith, and you can't overstate. You can't overstate what Clerks meant to this new generation of filmmakers. And he changed a lot, dramatically changed it. And again, it was blessed by timing. I mean, internet came 2 years later, and Clerks blew up, shot in black and white. It just holds up. Maybe even by the way he just shot it and approached it, it's meant to hold up that way. What an amazing talent, unique talent Kevin Smith is. Check him out tomorrow at SmodCastle Cinemas, and you go to SmodCastleCinemas.com and check out Hollywood Babylon. He'll be there with his partner tomorrow, and Ralph Garman is terrific as his partner. Frank MacKay signing off. We'll see you all next time.
You've been listening to the Hollywood Chronicles with Frank MacKay. Tune in next week for more celebrity interviews with your favorite Hollywood stars.